Hey guys, welcome back to the first project of 2025. It's been a while since I have been in here. Before we get going, I am going to apologize up front for the heater going back there. It is a cold day here in New England, but thankfully I have heat in my lean-to keeping me toasty warm. So we're going to hear it a little bit, and I am sorry about that. It has been a hot minute since I have done anything in my studios. It's actually been a couple of months. I kind of took November, December off to really focus on the holidays, my home, my family, my friends, just really devote my time and attention to something that only comes around once a year. And now that it's over, I am super itchy to get back into it. And I have so many projects to do, I wasn't sure what to start with. So over on my new studio channel, The Sophisticated Fox, I'll pop that right here. Be sure to pop over to there and subscribe to that channel. Great things will be coming from there as well. But when I made that channel, I made an introduction video, and in that introduction video, I took you on a little tour of my inventory. Now, I also asked if there was any piece that you saw here that you would like to see me do first to let me know, and Miss Olivia asked me to work on the vintage French Provincial sideboard bar cart. Not really sure exactly what it is, but it's a really cute piece. Not so cute right now. It definitely needs some love and attention. It's been neglected, but that is the first piece we are gonna work on. I don't know very much about it. I do know it is vintage. I do know it is French Provincial inspired. I don't know if you would call it like a buffet or a bar cart, or I feel like it's like a buffet, like a sideboard buffet, especially since these arms extend up like that. And it needs a lot of work. There is a lot that has to be done to this piece, so let's take a closer look at what we're dealing with. These doors are in rough shape. They need to be, that needs to be fixed. They're wobbly. Screens not in there. Same thing over here. These joints are no good. They need to be repaired. Oh gosh, even the inside of that is a little wrecked. Somebody drilled holes through this. I'm going to assume for cords. So we're going to have to fix that. There's some serious gouges in here. It's all in very, very rough shape. The details are really pretty. I mean, it's not tragic, but I'm going to need to order some new casters. This was $20, and I'm going to turn it into something fabulous. But boy, does it need help. The first thing I'm going to do is remove all the casters off, and I need to reorder some off of Amazon. I actually opted for ones that have the same vintage vibe and look. They look identical. The only difference is they'll work and they're still round. These ones aren't anymore. So I'm just going to take them all off. When I was removing one of the casters that was giving me a hard time, two pieces of the leg actually popped off, as you can see. And over time, they've gotten weak and they need to be repaired. Very straightforward repair, easy enough to get back on there. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm glad that this isn't like, a stress fracture. It's just a time fracture, if you will. I'm going to mark the pieces as the front and as the sides. It's missing these pieces here, like on the front leg that broke off. But the great thing is these pieces honestly do fit on there to make it a whole piece again. So I am going to use these, and I'm going to make a mold. Wicked easy to use. It's a 2-part, 50-50, chunk and a chunk. Decent. Equal parts. You gotta really knead them together and combine them. And take the first piece and you really wanna push it all in and around, just like that. I've got the second piece. All right, now we're just gonna let it sit and cure. And then once this is done, I'll be able to pop these pieces out and pour my resin in this space and make resin molds. I think that's gonna be the best way to do this. It'll dry hard, it's durable, and I shouldn't have any more problems. I need to repair some of these spaces on the legs as well as other areas on here. And the best way to do that is by using glue syringes that I bought off of Amazon. They come in all different lengths, shapes, sizes. Some have bends, some are tiny, some are bigger. Totally worth it. And I think an absolute must for anybody who's doing any type of furniture flipping or repairs. You're always going to need glue, and there's going to be spots you can't get into. I like using them. So now that I have the glue added there, I actually want to clamp this, but because it's rounded, I'm going to use a couple pieces of wood to help me and hold that together. This needs to set up and cure so I could make sure that it's got a really good bond. All of these things are making it so I'm kind of changing the design that I had in my head, and I'm kind of winging this. I don't have a solid plan. I'm just kind of letting the piece speak to me, and the piece is changing its mind. That's what it's doing. I need to take the doors off. To make it easier on myself, I am opting to leave the hinges attached to the doors. When you're working with vintage or antique pieces, sometimes you can run into a problem when you start messing with the hinges and changing them, and then the doors don't sit right or close right. I'm just trying to make it a little easier on myself, and I'm going to keep them there. Generally, I would take them off if I could, but I'm not pressing my luck with this piece. This piece is thick. It's like probably an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick. These holes are very deep. The holes are very big. So I honestly think the best way to fix it is with some wood filler Bondo. That's really gonna stay in place. Tape the inside off though, because I'm gonna push the Bondo through, and I don't want it to squish through. I want it to have a surface to stop at, and that's what the tape will do from the inside. So that, so now it has like a wall. It'll stop when it gets into there. Because I'm filling in some deep holes, I'm gonna mix up a little bit because I'm just gonna really splotch it right in there, give it time to cure. But if you're working with small areas or detailed areas, you wanna mix up small batches, even if it's multiple small batches, because you'll just waste it otherwise. A decent little heaping of Bondo. And now I'm gonna add the hardener into it. You don't use very much, it's not a whole lot. Put it off to the side, and then we're gonna mix it together. You wanna be quick about it and get it mixed up really good. All right, it's kind of like a greeny color when you're done. And get that in there. So that's gonna sit and cure for a while. It's fine, everything's fine. People always say, what is the one must-have to do this? Multi-tool. You name it, I literally use it for everything, and you will too. So make sure you get a good multi-tool. After looking this piece over again, I kind of came to the conclusion that there is in fact a veneer all over this piece. It is so super, super thin. It is damaged. It's not worth it to try to repair it. I want to get the most bang for my buck here and the highest profit I can, and I am trying to keep the overhead on this piece to a minimum and use things I have. So I think what I'm going to do is sand off this damaged veneer in some areas, because in my head I am seeing it stained, but I'm also seeing it painted, and I'm trying to make that design cohesively work. And I have to tell you, this piece is totally fighting me every chance it can at that, but I am still hoping I'm going to be able to do the painted and the stained version of this. I'm going to take a break from sanding and go back over to those molds that we created to recreate the pieces needed for the foot. They have cured, and now it's time to take the pieces out so that I can pour some resin in there and get some pieces made. I'm not going to worry if any of my resin pours over the mold because it is super easy to sand and trim this. All right, I'm going to let that cure completely till it's hard, and I am going to get back to the sanding. Nobody ever tells you when you want to flip furniture that you're going to spend a lot of time sanding things, and you really are. You're going to sand every project that you do, sometimes for days upon ends, depending upon what you're doing. It's just part of the game. Sanding is part of the game. Not fun. In fact, I dislike this probably the most, but it's very necessary for your project to be a success and to last. Because seriously, you don't want to do all of this work and just have it not last. That's the worst, especially if you're selling it. If you're selling something to a customer, you've got to give it 110%. You've got to use the right equipment, the right tools. You can't half-ass it in plain English. You've got to put the time and attention into it. And sometimes it just takes a lot longer than you think.
70 years later.
I wanted to peek and see what the wood would look like. You can do that with water. Wipe the top. And see, there's a problem. A wet cloth will always show you the grain, and this is pulling very orange, which I don't like, but this is green. And that tells me that there will be a significant difference when it comes to staining it. So now I have to come up with an option for the side. So this is definitely green. Tonight I'm just going to finish sanding that, and I'm going to call it a day, and we're going to come back to this tomorrow. It's the next day, and I actually want to apologize because I thought I hit record. Well, I don't think I hit record. I know I hit record. What I didn't realize was my battery was dead, and I do not have me attaching the resin mold pieces back onto this as well as the original onto the feet, making them whole. But I did that. They have sat overnight, and now it's time for me to sand them. I know there's going to be a little bit of gaps. I expected that to happen, so I'm just going to use a little bit of wood putty. I'm going to fill that in, let it sit and cure. Once it's ready, I'm going to come back at it again and give it a good sand. And I have to say, I was really, really, really impressed with how the legs came out. I was able to make two pieces that were no longer there that I needed to make all of the feet look original again by creating molds and using resin, and everything just totally worked perfectly on the feet. Both of the doors need to have the joints re-glued and have them set up nice and tight. I also want to remove the screen and give that a new coat of paint. I'm still going with my some painted, some stained vision for this piece, but the majority of the body is going to be painted. I will be using the Licorice Beyond paint, which is just a gorgeous true black. I love this paint. The durability is just amazing, especially for furniture. It's just a great choice. Little bit pricey, but worth it if you want your end result to last. Now, it recommends that you use a brush to dab into the areas that a roller can't get to, but it does recommend that you use a roller to apply this. I like to get the glass smooth finish for my nap. I'm also going to do the same thing on the body now. I'm going to tape off the areas that I'm going to stain. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to stain them or what process I'm going to do to them, but I don't want to get black paint on them. So I'm going to tape off the areas of bare wood to make sure that while I'm painting the body of this black, I don't accidentally touch that bare wood because I'm really over sanding anything. I'm kind of done. You know what I mean? I have to let it dry really good before applying another coat, but it's definitely going to take two coats over this. It's adhering really well, and part of keeping it adhering really well is allowing each coat to dry and cure completely before adding another coat on it. Because if you apply wet paint on top of wet paint, you're just going to pull it back off and expose the underneath, and it's frustrating. It's maddening. It's almost like trying to nail jello to a wall. Like you're just not going to win. For the wire screens, I wanted to lighten them up and make them stand out against all of the black, so I opted to go for a gold spray paint. It kind of has this aged patina to it. Because the wood isn't perfect, I opted to go with a gel stain instead of using a regular stain. A regular stain kind of penetrates the wood deeper and deeper and deeper, while a gel stain, although it does penetrate, it kind of just sits on top. The longer you leave it, the darker it can get. But I kind of like it better than a regular stain, actually. And my go to color is the Old Masters Natural Walnut Stain. I actually used this on the faux beams I made in my dining room, which came out unbelievable, by the way. If you haven't seen that, check that video out. You will not believe these things are not real solid beams. Oh my gosh, budget friendly. But I'm getting off track. Um, I like the stain, especially when it comes to older products where the wood isn't as good and it's dry. If I did have a wood conditioner, I would have actually applied that. I did not have any on hand and I didn't feel like running out to get it. So I went with what I have and I'm actually really happy with how it came out. I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. The tone goes nicely with the black. It's so different from how it looked when it started. And my vision is really coming to fruition. I'm seeing it. It's happening. It's transforming before my eyes. And I can tell this little French provincial buffet is really happy right now. The original hardware that came on the doors was a very small hole, if you will. It was very pretty, definitely very French provincial. I thought this might be a perfect opportunity to rummage through my hardware drawer and see what I could come up with. And I actually had these kind of mid-century modern back plates that have these pulls that go with them. And I don't like them in the finish they're in now. So I figure let's give them a coat of black spray paint and then I'm going to go over it with the gold gilding wax. That is the same gilding wax that I used to bring out the embellishments on this piece. They totally went from blending into the black to standing out and popping, and this piece exceeded my expectations. It came out absolutely beautiful. I applied a couple coats of clear shellac, letting it dry in between and sanding it with 600 grit, the smoothest possible surface ever, and I love how it came out. Let's remember how it looked beforehand. Not too bad. Definitely French provincial. Lacking. Definitely not loved. Neglected. Scratched. The surface was ruined. Everything about it just screamed blah. But I got it for $20, which was an absolute steal considering it's hard wood. And now let's take a look at the finished product. My mind is blown. What do you guys think? If you think this transformation was mind blowing, give this video a like, show this transformation the love because I think it totally deserves to be recognized. I took a very boring and bland French provincial buffet and turned it into a gorgeous piece that can traditionally go with any type of decor. It doesn't matter what your home has, this can fit in there. And I can see it as a bar cart, a buffet, maybe it's a serving board. Whatever the case may be, I can see this becoming a very utilitarian part of it. And I also went a little bit more extra and added some lights to the bottom there because there's nothing worse than like a little black hole. What's the point of having these gorgeous doors with these gorgeous screens and you can't even see in them? So I attached some color changing battery operated lights to each corner, which I love. And I think that adds an extra level of ambiance that just wasn't there before. And I am totally stoked. Now, I am definitely going to list this. I was looking at comps. I came up with this price. It's definitely worth something. I'm not going to price it this high, but I can promise you it will be priced accordingly. And hopefully, somebody's going to snap it up and enjoy it in their home. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me for the first project of 2025 out of my studio. It felt so good to get back in there. And to be perfectly honest, I actually kind of went shopping this weekend and I got 7 more pieces in my inventory that are mind blowing, including a 5-piece Ethan Allen set from the 1960s that I can't wait to share with you all. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is a great time to do so. Show this video and this project some love, and I'll see you people on the flip side. Bye, guys.